In this video, I am going to try to summarize my whole approach to entrepreneurial leadership for transformative companies. I am doing this video because I would like to also demonstrate one of the practices that I recommend that you do if you are building a company that is transforming either their industry, if you're transforming your customers, or if you're trying to transform your environment, whether it's the planet or society. Repeating and practicing explaining your overall philosophy is something that really helps continuously listening to the purpose and the calling of your company, of your organization. If you are really trying to transform one of the three things I just named, the chances are very high that the purpose, the calling, the exact mission of your company is not very clear at the beginning. And in fact, purpose is something that is evolutionary. It changes over time. It is evolutionary because your context changes, you evolve as a leader, you grow as a leader, you grow as a founder, as a CEO, as a business owner, and your customers also change, and your customers have different needs and preferences based also on context. So that's why I'm doing this video. I recommend that you do it as well. I recommend that you shoot a video like this once in a while to practice the art of building your strategic narrative. So now my approach to entrepreneurial leadership for transformative companies is called strategic narrative. So the first thing I would like to help you understand is what we mean exactly by strategic narrative. Most people in business will use the word story and narrative as synonyms. They use it interchangeably. And in fact, if you listen to a team of people working together in business, they'll say things like, oh, we need a new story. We have to get our narrative straight, or our story needs to be clarified. In thinking about our story, and then let's change our narrative, they use it, as synonyms. In fact, there is a difference. There is a difference that really matters in the context of building companies that have high transformative impacts on the market. And that difference is that a story is a discrete thing. A story is something that happened to someone. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. A narrative, on the other hand, is a system of stories. If you here are just a few metaphors to help you understand the relationship between stories and narratives. Narratives are mosaics of stories. They are the stained glass windows in medieval churches that represent a whole system pattern of those stories to help people function under a religious narrative, for instance. So that's the case of a religion. But another metaphor that people like is to say that a narrative is a galaxy of stories. It's what defines the narrative. A narrative is something that is culturally ingrained. It's the way we do things. It's the way we think about doing something. So, for instance, in business, one of the narratives I like to use as an example is recycling. Recycling is a narrative that is a constructive narrative. It was made up in the 60s by packaging manufacturers in the packaging industry to help people not feel so guilty about tossing things in the trash, feeling guilty about polluting. So the first step to my approach is really to be clear about what we're doing here. We're trying to shape a system of stories that help you guide people through a major change. Another reason why you want to do this is because when you are a transformative company, you ought to put out there a product that people don't know yet. It's a product that advances how we do certain things. I have clients, for instance, who build medical devices that bring technology that people don't know yet. So any transformation, any change in the way we do something will require help, will require support. for you to get commitment from people in the market, people that work with you, people that support you, that will want to fund your company, and also for you to stay committed throughout this difficult entrepreneurial journey. So that's why you need to build a strategic narrative. Now, there are three stages for building a strategic narrative. Stage number one is core message, and core message through 4 foundational stories: your origin story, your opportunity story, your perspective story, and your product story. So core messaging is at the heart of a model that I call the strategic narrative canvas. The first step that you need to work on. It's a step that consists of using a series of questions, defining some core building blocks, the 4 building blocks I just named: your origin, your opportunity, your perspective, and your product, and using them as a way to test your strategic assumptions, where your company comes from, what was at the DNA at the beginning of the company, why did you feel like you wanted to found it or join it if you're not the founder. What is the opportunity that you see for everyone to be able to achieve, not just your business opportunity, but the community, the whole ecosystem's opportunity? What is the perspective that you have on achieving this opportunity? In fact, it's the philosophy. In fact, the video that I'm making right now, it's about my perspective. So here is an example of what perspective means. And then how do you intend to align with your customers and serve them? So there are 4 dimensions to that first step, which is the core message. Core message has to be authentic. Core message has to be iterative. It has to be also done through concrete exercises, not just in a vacuum. It's best if you look for your core message over time. It's not something that happens in the one frenzied effort. It's something that, like I said, is iterative, and it's something that works best if you do it in relationship with high stakes events. Maybe you have to pitch to investors. Maybe you have to launch new products. Maybe you have to present to customers. You have to recruit people. And practicing that message, practicing that core message happens through real life application, real life practice of your message. Just like what I'm doing right now. I'm going on a video. I'm hitting record. This is not rehearsed. This is not scripted. I rehearsed those ideas many times, but the best way to do that is to just practice your message as much as you can. What are the results you should see out of that phase? Well, you should gain a much deeper sense of clarity. If you have a team, and even with yourself, you're going to start developing a common language, which is foundational for alignment. You will also build trust, and you will have a greater sense for what is it that you are excited about and what is making other people excited about. And that process is key to mobilizing yourself, your partners, your team, and your customers. So that's the first phase here. Then the next stage is actions. Actions is when your strategic narrative is activated, right? So those actions are the translation. They are the material expression of your message. And so they work in tandem. There is this very, very strong relationship here. And to do this, you can use also the same strategic narrative canvas model that I developed, which helps you position in the 4 dimensions the actions and the things that you're going to do to activate your narrative. So what are actions? What are some examples of actions? Actions could be initiatives, projects, new processes, new tools you implement, new ways of working, new ways of collaborating together. It could be your hiring process. It could be obviously your marketing. It could be all of the communication, all of the social media efforts that you put outside of your company. And very importantly, it could be also the new products that you create, products or services, offers, experiences that you create in alignment with your core message made out of those 4 stories. So the second phase here should help you achieve greater alignment. It should help you be in the action mode. And when you always look at the relationship between your actions and your message, that's exactly when you can see if what you do is aligned with your company's strategy. Company strategy is not it's not just a conceptual piece of imaginary document, not just a plan. I mean, there is a strategy needs a map. It needs a roadmap. It needs some kind of a course, some steps. But strategy is most importantly what happens in reality on the day-to-day. And if what you do is not aligned with where you want to take your organization, then people see it. They see it's inconsistent. They get lost. They get confused. And you can have the best conceptual strategy you want. If nobody sees it as clearly as you, it's worth nothing. You don't have a strategy really. So again, let's summarize here. The first stage is core messaging through the 4 story. The second stage is actions around those 4 stories. Now let's look at the third stage, the third phase or stage. I'm still, using words that are that I'm still figuring out here. So the third phase is creating new habits. Once you have those actions implemented and tested, you start creating new habits. How do you, the goal is to do that. Habit creation is to turn your narrative into something that is a no-brainer. I like that phrase. I like actually that way to say it, because again, in the example that I used before about recycling, it's a no-brainer. We take something and we put it in the blue bin because we know that the chances that it's going to be recycled are high, and it helps us reduce effort. We don't have to think about it. That's what a narrative is meant to do, is to create those habits, is to create adoption for a new process, a new product, a new way of doing something. So how are you going to do about this? How are you going to go about this? Habit creation happens through consistent repetition of how your company operates. Consistent messaging, but also consistent actions. And that's when looking at the actions that you defined before is going to be crucially important. You're going to see if you have the capacity to continue carrying some of those actions. You're going to see if they are aligned with what you're trying to do. And you're going to see if they have an impact, if they have a purpose, if people find them useful. So that's the outer edge here of the narrative that you're building. This narrative, through habit creation, helps you create a new norm, a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, whether it's, again, for your industry, for your customers, or for the environment. Maybe you are about reducing CO2 emissions. Maybe you are about healthcare or mental support. Maybe you are a coach. Maybe you are about transforming the way we connect, through technology devices. You are into the Internet of Things. Maybe you are in social change. All of these are examples of transformations that will require to create new habits. And creating new habits, new commitment for new habits is a process. And it can happen if you look at this process as building a new narrative. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this helps you understand that building a strategic narrative is not the same as what some marketers have defined as business storytelling, which is really about using communications techniques that sometimes are manipulative, that sometimes are about stretching the truth, that sometimes are inauthentic, to force people into doing new things. I'm talking here about an authentic change process that starts with you as a leader, with your intentions, with your values, with your ability to communicate with people and to mobilize people in a holistic way, not just your customers, but mobilize yourself, mobilize your community, mobilize your team if you have one. But if you're alone, you're a team, you're a team of one person, wearing more than one hat, and obviously mobilizing your customers to the new opportunity that you're seeking to achieve. All right, I hope this helps. And as always, if you have any questions, if you want to comment on my attempt to summarize my whole approach in about 15, 20 minutes here, if you're interested in trying to practice this exercise of summarizing your approach on video, just contact me. My name is Guillaume Viatre. I am the principal and founder of MetaHelm, and MetaHelm specializes in strategic narrative for transformative companies. We help CEOs, founders, and business owners align people and accelerate the adoption of their innovation. Thank you so much.